friends. So glad to see all of you tonight. I see lots of comments rolling in. I got a quick question for you. Are you interested in sewing clothes that make you feel wonderful? If you are in the right place tonight because I have a fabulous guest for you. We're going to have a really fun sewing chat. So, whether you're sewing garments for yourself or for somebody else, or you are a wannabe garment sewer, you are going to love this show. So, welcome to the Let's Go Sew with Joanne Banko live show, where sewing enthusiasts gather to be inspired and to learn to make the most of their machines. I am so glad to have everybody here tonight. I know we've got lots of Let's Go Sew friends and lots of friends of my guest. So, I am going to tell you a little bit about her. I've got my guest tonight is Whitney Bill. Yes, I think I said that right. She told me exactly how to say it, and I think I got it right. Let me she's going to talk about pattern fitting as well tonight, but let me tell you just a little bit about her. Whitney is the founder of Tomcat Stitchery. She is a sewing instructor, and she actually started her journey, she tells me, in 2006 when she was preparing a nursery for her twins, a boy and a girl. So that must have been really exciting. But that project sparked her self education journey. She pursued it through books, online courses. Let's see, what else did she tell me? In person workshops and craft instruction websites. So much like we are all doing these days, and much like the reason you are here tonight for sure. Her mentor was named Joyce, and through independent study and extensive experimentation, Whitney has become a true expert in textiles, patterns, and sewing techniques. So, without further ado, let me bring Whitney to the stage here. Hello, Whitney.
Hello, Joanne. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. Got
Yeah,
lots and lots and lots of friends here tonight. You want to say hello to a few of them?
I do.
All right. Cindy King. Cindy sent me a note a couple days ago and said that she's been following you for a long time. So
That's
it's always fun to have mutual friends. And,
yes,
I
yes.
think we have a lot of them here tonight. So,
I love
hey,
that.
Cindy. And Cindy's saying hi to Shirley. Okay. So that happens here. We've got lots of friends with friends.
I love it. I love it. I love the community of sewing. Yes.
So absolutely. Welcome to the whole Let's Go Sew family. I call it a family of friends because it really is. You know that old saying, "Blood's thicker than water." I don't know. I've had some friends in my life that were pretty pretty far above some of my family relationships. So
I would agree.
it all depends. It all depends.
I would
But
agree.
Mary also
Hi,
wrote and
Mary.
said she was so glad to see us both together. So Mary, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi,
Susie,
Mary.
Susie's looking forward to the show. Let's see. Mary says she's oh well. Maybe we just haven't shown him yet. And don't forget, Mary, we don't show every single comment here because if we did, we would be here for 6 hours instead of instead of maybe an hour and a half. Usually we try to go an hour, but it usually trickles
Trickles.
into a little bit more. And Karen's here. Karen is definitely a garment sewing enthusiast. Hi, Karen.
Hi,
My good
Karen.
my good friend Kathy.
Oh,
Kathy is very very close to me. Kathy and I have known each other probably longer than anybody else that's here tonight. Kathy and I went to high school together,
oh, I love it.
and we've had periods in our life where we separated and then came back together, and separated and came back together, and we're in the back together. Not because of anything happened, just
Yeah.
life,
Life. Yes.
just
Yes.
life, and it took us away from. And so now we're actually doing a lot of sewing together.
Oh,
So
I love that. In
It's
person
really fun.
best.
So glad to have you here, Kathy. Kathy sounds like she already knows who you are too, Whitney. That is great. Ann Philbeck. Ann is always, 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 always a faithful friend and one of many faithful friends that I'm thankful to have here, always watching the show. So, hey, Ann. And Carla. Carla is always around. Carla and I met in person only once, but we've kept in touch for all these years online. So
Oh, hi,
that's always a
Carla.
great thing, isn't it, Whitney?
Yes. Yes. Hi, Carla.
Hey, Rhonda is here for the first time live.
Welcome.
Welcome, welcome, Rhonda. Bambi Lynn. Bambi Lynn is a very experienced sewist. She actually has her own sewing business. So
Very cool.
I'm sure Bambi could tell us a whole lot of good things too. But
Yeah.
let's see. We've got Renee here. We've got B. Wilson. We've got
Hello.
Anne from San Diego. Linda. Linda's always around here. So welcome, Linda. And Jane. Gia from
Ooh,
Michigan.
Michigan.
Caroline from South Texas. Caroline is always another faithful friend. Alicia, good to see you. And Joel
Ooh, Southwest Florida.
and Patty. So all over the place. Denver, we've got Denver in the house. We've
Love
got New
it.
York.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see who are we got. Oh, my friend Dawn from Creative Appliques. I know we're our topic for tonight is probably not going to go in the direction of machine embroidery, although I may ask you just a teeny bit
I was gonna
of
say, totally could. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we might ask you about your interest in that. But Dawn from Creative Appliques has her own embroidery website and does appliques, if you could guess
Very
that.
nice.
Marianne's here from Maine. Julie's here from Ohio. Patricia, Deb. Let's see, I'm going to zip through a few more of these here. Shirley. Hey, Shirley. Hey, Barbara. My another very good close friend. And when I say close, I mean proximity wise. Like I could
Yes.
drive there in 5 minutes or so.
Love it. Yes.
My friend Kim. Hey, Kim, I'm glad you made it. Sally's here from Ohio. I am also in Ohio. Debbie's always here as well, as is Sheila and Sue. Oh my, we've got so many friends here. Bobby,
Yes, I'm so glad to be
Susie.
here.
I have to tell you, I every time I see everybody here, I always wish that we could do this even more often or for a longer period of time. So I'm going to throw out a little teaser. I am putting together something I've never done before, and but I'm looking forward to doing it in probably in June, an online pajama party for sewing enthusiasts.
Oh my gosh, how
You're
fun.
invited if you want to come.
That is so fun. I love that.
I'm waiting for the days to get a little bit longer, so we've got a little bit
Yes.
more light, and people aren't going to be tired staying up.
Yes, I love that.
Lottie's here. Hey, Stephanie's here. Let's see. Augustine is here. Karina is another great friend from Norway.
Yay,
So
yes.
whole bunches of people. Well, we got to get started talking though, because I got lots of questions I want to ask you. So
Yes.
one of the things that I love to do on this show is have the chance to ask you questions that maybe you don't even ask yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And obviously, welcome people who want to ask you questions
Yeah.
that don't get the chance to do that. So I know you do a lot of what I call video on demand,
Mhm.
whereas I do more live
Mhm.
video.
Mhm.
So you get to plan yours all out nice and nice and neat with the help of Jenny, your
In theory, yes, my right-hand
capable
woman.
assistant. Mine, we just hope it goes good, and kind of at the rest that might happen, but it definitely does happen. So
Keeps it
I will just
exciting.
um, say a quick thank you to everyone who's watching live. We always have so much fun in the chat. And if you didn't make it live and you're here watching the replay, welcome as well. It's just so glad to have you either way, whatever way works for you. All right. So did you sew it all today, Whitney?
I did not. Today was a filming day, so
Ah,
no sewing happened today, but I did sew over the weekend. I got a pair of
okay.
it's a pattern release that we'll be releasing next week. Pair of jeans sewn up this weekend,
Ooh.
which was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I was it so tell me the pattern company.
Itch to Stitch.
Okay. All right.
Yes, it is an Itch to Stitch pattern that will be being released next week.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask in the chat for comments. I want to know, we're going to talk about what I call indie patterns, but I
Yeah.
want to know how many of our friends that are here with us tonight actually so one answer number one, you could put a
Mhm,
one in the chat. If you mostly sew with what we call the big four,
mhm,
simplicity, butterick,
mhm.
the big four that are really the big one, right?
Right, yes,
Pretty much.
yes. Yeah, yeah,
Simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, and Vogue.
yeah.
And we could throw Berta into the mix only because it's generally available in the same places that you would buy those. But
Mhm,
so if you mostly sew with those, give me a one. I'm going to be a one for
mhm,
sure.
mhm,
If you do happen to sew with what we call indie patterns or
mhm,
patterns that are produced by other sources
mhm.
than the biggies,
Yeah.
so how would you define indie patterns?
I would define independent designers, I think. So people that have their own brand, individuals that have maybe their own little pattern company, whether that be
And
a big, small, or big.
yeah, it could be little,
Yeah,
it could even be could even be big, but we'll call
yeah,
those two. So I'd like
yeah,
to know if you do mostly is kind of an arbitrary word, but mostly, those other types of patterns, then it would
yeah,
be a two. So
yeah,
Whitney, I think I already know the answer. What
yeah.
would yours be? A
I'm
number
I'm
one
a
or a two?
2. I'm a
Okay,
2.
yeah.
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 Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's so exciting. And that's really one of the reasons I really wanted to, dive into that subject
Yeah.
with you because it, it's, it's not that I'm not familiar with those kind of companies and not that
Mhm.
I haven't, dabbled in it with some of them. I mean, I had some on my show.
Uh-huh.
Um, but they are very, very different. So,
Mhm.
first of all, how would you, because I know you do both. So, how
I
would
do.
you kind of define one over the other?
Um, I would and there's pros and cons to both, right? I do enjoy a good paper pattern every now and again. Obviously the sales on the big 4 or 5, the commercial sales are fantastic. Um, I I am a harder body type to fit than the sloper, the block that they use for their pattern drafting. I'm just different. My body is just quite a bit different. Now my
You and
daughter
99.999% of everybody else.
I know. So I do sew with them. I just have to do a lot of alterations to get them to
Yeah.
work for my body. My daughter, I can sew a little bit easier. My mom, I can sew really easy with commercial patterns. Her figure just fits a little better into their slopers.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
think for me, the reason I probably use independent patterns a little bit more often is that I've just found a couple of companies that I can sew with very minimal alteration. So it's just easier. So I mean, not that
Gotcha.
I just want to sew those because I don't mind a good challenge when it comes to alterations and getting some fitting done, just for ease. I tend to pick a couple of the independent pattern companies that require
Okay.
less fitting adjustments.
That's it. I'm going to bring up while we're chatting. I'm going to bring up some of the numbers that are coming up because
Yeah.
they're all over the
Oh
place. But
yeah.
I would not have thought that that would be your answer. I would
Interesting.
have thought that your answer would have been, and this might certainly be part of it, would be style choice more
Okay.
so than fitting. So that's really interesting, but it makes sense because with again, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, but
Uh-huh.
my assessment of indie patterns is that most of them, and certainly they can be very much into a niche, but
Mhm.
most of them can design for what they believe is more true to let's just say a women's figure, because most of them are going to be women's clothes, although I know there's a mixture, but that's kind of our, major topic for tonight.
Uh-huh.
So that they can, or they can be very, very specific and do, only for petites, or only for my friend Diane from Style Falcon. She
Mhm.
does for specifically for mature figures.
Yeah. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
different, like you said, block.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and now it's interesting because Karina says number two, indie patterns all the way. And I wonder if some of that is a little bit, because it's another kind of little, cog in the wheel, um, because of availability.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I didn't ask you this question, but if we tried to think of like the top 5 reasons somebody might prefer indie patterns,
Mhm.
one of those reasons certainly could be availability. I know
Absolutely.
Karina lives in a pretty far off place,
Yeah.
and it's not so easy for her to run to the big box store and pick up a pattern and take it home and sew it. So
Right.
you
Right.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting some mixed ones too, but
Yeah.
um, having the ability to print that pattern on demand and sew it immediately, is that what got you into working with those indie patterns to begin with?
I think probably at the beginning it was, some of the styles and stuff like that. So that probably is what drew me to begin with. Just, it was things that I was seeing in stores and that sort of thing. I would say now though, I know I can look at style lines on patterns and envision things and create my own, um, be able to recreate what I want and not necessarily going after the style that's on the pattern. But I do enjoy being able to print things on demand. I did just get a projector. I haven't learned how to use the projector completely yet,
I
but
definitely want to talk more about that.
yes. Well, yeah, I'm no expert at all. I've not really used it yet, but
That's okay.
we had a college student come and calibrate it and set it up for me. So I think I'm gonna love it because I do love ease.
Good.
Um, I, and it's about 50-50 for me whether or not I'm printing off the PDF pattern on my own printer at home or whether I send off the copy shop file
Okay.
and have those printed off on, the large format sheets, which makes them basically like a paper pattern anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that probably the main reason I sew with more indie patterns is really more the fitting for me.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah.
April is here from Australia. Hey, April, glad you could join us tonight. So,
Yes.
April, you might have missed. We asked if you do most of your sewing with the big four commercial patterns, or if you possibly use um, indie patterns. So, one would be the vote for commercial patterns. Two would be the vote for indie patterns. You're certainly welcome to type in one and two. But Alicia says she always has to adjust something in the pattern. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Cindy says you have taught her how to alter the big four. So that's great. We're going to talk more about that for everybody that's here tonight.
Yes.
Fitting no matter what patterns. I
Yep.
got to say hi to my friend June, because June is another local friend who is always here showing herself up and joining in the chat. So glad to have you, June. Let's see. Okay, Eileen says she has used
Mhm.
Silhouette.
Mhm.
They were I know Peggy
Mhm.
Sagers
Mhm.
is she for a while she kind of like owned the space, because
Yeah.
I think she was really one of the first really
Mhm.
prominent indie pattern companies, and she had so much variety. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, she's
Yep.
still going strong. I've used
Yeah.
a few of
Mhm.
her patterns, but
Yeah.
Deborah says, believe it or not, the big four fit her well.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I don't know why I didn't really think about that being your likely answer, because if you asked me why I mostly sew with the big four,
Mhm.
it would be two things. Number one, new look patterns in particular,
Uh-huh.
which my understanding is that they're based off of the European block, which is a little more true to measurements. Do you have
Uh-huh.
any experience with that or knowledge of that? in
It would
particular?
make sense. It would make sense if New Look and Berta both probably
Yeah.
are on more of a European, block. Uh-huh.
So they've always fit me well. I know
Yeah.
what, I can, and I can trust the sizing. Whereas
Mhm.
McCall's, and I'm not picking on anything in particular, but McCall's generally they run really large.
Uh-huh.
Vogue tends to run small,
Mhm.
for me personally, unless it's an oversized garment. So
Uh-huh.
I've been just sticking with New Look because I like them and I like
Yeah.
their styles. They don't make as many patterns and as many new ones, which
Mhm.
again, for me personally, that means that if I see it, I don't have to go buy it tomorrow worrying that it's going to be gone. They
Right.
tend to keep some of the classics in the lineup.
Yes.
Unlike some of the other companies, they'll take those out of the lineup and then they will bring them back later,
Mhm. Yep.
changed a little bit. But that's another benefit of the print on demand patterns is that generally once they make it, they keep it. So
The yeah.
there's just so many different ways that you can see for one
Oh,
and the other.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, Good point here. Diana says indie patterns have much better instructions and have many videos too. And that would be a maybe. Sometimes when in the past anyway, some of the indie pattern companies have been a little skimpy on their instructions because they tend to maybe assume that you
Mhm.
are already experienced. But I will say, Diana, you're absolutely right. In this day and age where we're so used to videos,
Mhm.
many of those companies have come up with videos that have made it
Yeah.
much
Mhm.
easier. So, um, Arlene, I'm assuming Arlene is your first name and Eckert is your last name.
Mhm.
Are indie patterns industrial? I'm not really sure what you mean by industrial. When I think of the word industrial, I think of mass produced, like as in the fashion industry. So, if you want to clarify that, we can maybe talk about that just a little bit further. And Betty says she uses Big Four or makes her own. Good for you, Betty.
Yes.
That should have been a number three. Like if I
Yes.
had all the time in the world, I would go back to designing my own patterns. I actually took pattern making in fashion school and
Yes.
got a certificate in it, but that was like a
Yeah.
million years ago. And
Yes.
today everything's done so differently. And obviously I can't use the same measurements I had
Well,
back then.
well.
But if time allowed, I would love to do that because I love looking at pattern making books and seeing how things are
Me
drafted.
too.
And then you just
Yes.
take one basic sloper and do a million things with it. So
I completely agree. I love the math of pattern drafting. Yes.
that is neat. That is neat. Let's see. Style Arc confuses a little bit with their instructions. I know you've used Style Arc because I've seen you comment on it. What would you?
They have very sparse
Okay.
instructions, which is why I've done some sew-alongs, for them because I know that, an instruction might be, "Okay, make a welt pocket," but it doesn't tell you how to make a welt
Yeah.
pocket, so
Yeah.
they're just assuming you have that kind of, information. Yes, Style Arc is very sparse with their
Yeah.
instructions.
So let's talk just a little bit about the whole projector thing. So
Mhm.
I probably a lot of our friends here are familiar with the newest projector system that came out
Yeah.
called Ditto.
Mhm.
I'd love to know in the chat again because I always if I don't catch your comment now, I read every single one of them later, and it's always interesting. But I wonder if anybody here has purchased it and if anybody
Yeah.
here has used it. I have two friends who got it like right when it was introduced,
Uh-huh.
and one is already tired of it. She's just gone back to doing things her most comfortable old fashioned way, whatever the way
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
And the other one, she's actually a sewing instructor. My friend Kathy Zagar, some of my friends here know who she is,
Uh-huh.
and she got a good fit with it, and so she was happy
Uh-huh.
by doing the input with the measurements. It's just that
Yeah.
she hasn't had a lot of time to do a lot else with it. But
Yeah.
that I think that opened up people's eyes maybe a little bit more to the possibility of using it. But what made you go forward with getting into the whole projector thing?
I love efficiencies. I love efficiencies. I love, I sometimes I need to remind myself to slow down because I do like to go fast. So I don't have a projector system. I bought a used projector from a schoolroom off of eBay for like $100. And I am just projecting independent patterns, their projector files onto my fabric to cut it out. I have not yet learned how to do pattern alterations on the computer, but that's my next thing because I always have to make alterations on my patterns. I am going to cut a couple. Actually, I'm cutting something out for Jenny, I think, first, because with seam work patterns, she doesn't have to have any alterations. So that'll be a good one to try and start with, I think. But yeah, I'm interested to see if it does speed up sewing. And I'm also interested in the part where I'm not storing paper everywhere.
I hear you on that. That was initially when I went to the first introduction and they asked us, kind of like why you were there, even interested. And
Right.
that was my first thing.
Yeah.
However, everybody here that knows me and knows me well knows I just say what I mean and mean what I say.
Yeah.
Right after that, I decided to go through a pattern purge. And
Yes.
in fact, I'm going through a purge right now. I'm blogging about it on my Let's Go Sew with Joanne Banko website,
Uh-huh.
and kind of not necessarily a how to, but just some ideas, some tips. Everybody's kind of
Oh
sharing
yeah.
their own, and I'm just going to
Yeah. Yeah.
continue going forward with that. But I
Mhm.
after I had gone to the ditto thing, I came home and I decided to do a pattern purge, and I went through almost every single pattern I owned using the Oh, I have to say it was the KonMari method,
Yeah.
which I'm not a huge fan of that method
Yeah.
either, but that's topic for another day in my streamlining the sewing space discussion. But I literally, held those patterns in my hand. I still have some from my earliest days of sewing, and I absolutely I'm not parting with them.
No,
And,
that's
and
amazing.
so I went through all these patterns, and at the end of it all, I was like, I don't really want to get rid of these anymore. I kept everything I want to still use, and then that
Yes.
kind of made me say, well, I'm not so interested then in the other system. But I think it's definitely something to consider for the future.
Mhm.
And there's always that question like, what would you tell yourself when you were first starting if you knew what you knew now? I
Right.
would tell myself, don't collect so many things that you may not have time to actually make.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
a
includes
good one.
patterns.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
And
is a
I
good
was
one.
having a discussion the other day with some friends, and neither one of them are garment sewers. They're more into quilting. My friend
Uh-huh.
Kim, who's here, and my friend Terry. And I said, well, I think I figured out why generally garment sewers buy too many patterns. Well, for one thing, when they're on sale for $1.99, who can resist, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But
Yep.
the other thing is we look at that pattern envelope and then we buy fabric to go with it, a lot of times at the same time, maybe not. And we look at that and in our mind, it's already finished
Oh, yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
seeing that picture.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's in reality a far long way from being
It's
finished.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think psychologically we kind of get sucked into that the you know psychology of it being already done. Does it
Absolutely,
make
and the
sense?
possibilities. It's all the possibilities that it could be, and,
Exactly.
that's half the fun of sewing, I feel like, is dreaming stuff up and,
Yep.
planning.
Well, we should definitely talk a little bit more about the whole pattern thing in a couple minutes, but it kind of made my mind go backwards
Yeah.
to want to ask you the question, how did you start sewing? Okay, I got three big questions for you.
Yeah.
How did you start sewing?
Mhm.
Where did the name Tomcat Stitchery come from?
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and put that up in the so everybody can see it,
Yeah.
where they can visit you,
Yes.
tomcatstitchery.com. Where did that come from?
Uh-huh.
And then third, two-part question. what made you decide to start doing YouTube?
Okay.
And what's it like to be a full-time YouTuber? Did I hit you with
Okay.
too much at once?
No, I think I can handle all of that.
All
Um,
right.
so like with my bio, I started sewing in 2006 when I was pregnant with my twins, and I wanted gender neutral bedding that wasn't beige. I love color, and they had a very colorful room. So my mom bought me a sewing machine just from Costco for my birthday, and we tackled it together. Um, I don't have I should in the generations right above me, I don't have any seamstresses, or even in the generation above that. Now, my great aunt, so the lady that raised my grandmother, she and her sisters were professional seamstresses. And I wish I would have gleaned stuff from them, but I didn't, and they passed away before I had an interest in sewing. But I got bit by the sewing bug, absolutely was absorbing everything I could about it. And when we moved to the Indianapolis area in 2011, I took a garment sewing class and met my mentor, Joyce, who was a professional dressmaker, and our brains clicked really well. And she actually called me after the class and asked if I would be interested in apprenticing with her. So I went and became an apprentice with her in her little workshop for, I think, almost 3 years. Then she retired, and Jenny and I were just doing the years and how that all figured out. When she retired and sold her business, I went with it and worked in a bridal alterations and custom sewing workroom from 2014 until 2017. And then I started my own business. My kids were getting older, and so I needed to be home a little bit more just for school stuff. And I started Tomcat Stitchery, which was a custom sewing and alterations business out of my basement. And so that is kind of my sewing background. I kind of had baptism by fire when it comes to garment sewing and working in those situations. Tomcat Stitchery, it is a combination of my kids' names. So that's where the Tomcat comes from. But that was the name of the alterations and custom sewing business that then propelled onto the YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel was started in 2018, August of 2018. And I just wanted to be part of the online sewing community. I was watching some YouTube channels and really enjoying those. I was enjoying seeing what was happening on Instagram and Facebook with within sewing, because I had such a passion for it and just love it so much. And I wanted to be a part of that. So on a whim, I started a YouTube channel in August of 2018 and had a lot of fun doing that. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020 is when the channel exploded. And I was able to, honestly, really 2019, I was able to go replace my income from what I was doing with alterations and custom sewing with YouTube. So that is kind of how that all, the YouTube part kind of happened. Um, and so, yeah, so that brings us to today. I have Jenny that works with me, that if anyone watches my channel knows Jenny. And she helped me start our first in-person class back in 2022. And then this time last year, we launched a digital class. So, and Jenny she has joined me full time now. So we are doing this thing together.
Oh, that is a great story. That is
Yeah.
so great. That is amazing. You never know where sewing will take you.
Oh
That's
no, it's a very weird path, but yeah, that's
just
how I got here.
oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
We've got some more comments I want to bring up
Yeah.
on the projector for sure, but
Yeah.
patterns too. So, and
Mhm.
Alicia says she is the same way with some of her patterns. She doesn't want to get rid of it. The memory, absolutely. That's one of the hardest things of going through this whole process of streamlining your sewing space. I mean, virtually, I think you have to, part of being a creative is being a little bit more on the emotional side, because
Yes.
your emotion really has to drive you to get something stitched, whether it's garments or quilts or crafts or
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Yep.
You have to be,
Absolutely.
invested in it emotionally. So I think it makes us a little bit more of the sensitive type character.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
does make it harder definitely harder to get rid of things.
Absolutely.
Angie says she's got 2 gunny sacks, but gunny sacks, Angie, you and I are kindred spirits. Gunny sacks patterns. I mean, there was a time when all I wanted to do was make everything out of muslin
Yes.
with Clooney lace attached to it and
Yes.
wooden buttons and all this that natural thing. But the
Yes.
gunny sacks patterns, which have come back, but those the ones that were really special, you don't want to get rid of those for sure.
No,
Definitely
no.
don't want to get rid of those. I'm trying to see if there were some more on actual patterns. But Patricia had an interesting comment too. She said she thinks of indie patterns coming from independent designers, exactly,
Mhm,
and she uses 1 and 2 both in the United Kingdom. I think that that's something I was thinking about before when we were talking about it. I think
mhm,
that when we were talking about like the maybe style art being not for beginners and
mhm.
well let's I want to talk a little bit about what pattern indie pattern companies you might recommend for beginners or
Sure.
for more newbies, but I think
Mhm.
that some of those that are more European in style, it's just like the Berta magazine.
Mhm.
um, as much as I loved it and I collected them and I said I was going to make something out of so many of them,
Yeah.
I never actually did.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who was from Europe and it was no problem for her. No
Uh-huh.
problem. So it's probably something in the training of even schooling that maybe they were more,
Sure.
geared for that type of thing, either tracing
Sure.
it or printing it and not,
Yeah.
running to the big box store and just picking it
Yeah.
up.
Definitely.
But as far as like the projector, I just want to bring up a few of these. Mercedes says she hated to get involved because of the subscription, and I think that for a lot of us that are the frugally minded seamstress, I did a talk once for the American Sewing Guild called the Frugal Seamstress. It was all about how to still sew well and save money. I should dig that
Yes.
out of the archives and redo it, but
Yes.
many of us are
Yeah.
as creators, kind of a little bit more. We want to get the most for our money, and I know
Mhm.
subscription based things it can be great if it's something you're really going to use. But if you
Yep.
feel like you kind of got sucked into it, then you might not be so happy to do that.
Mhm.
Betty Jo says she uses a projector to mark her quilts. That is very interesting.
That's a good
Um,
idea.
I need to find somebody that's doing that and like Betty Joe and get them to tell me how that works. Crystal says she still has one in the box. So, yeah, the whole thing about the projector, though, is that it doesn't necessarily have to come from a specific company. That,
Uh-uh.
you know, y- I'm assuming, did you get just a standard projector and so
Yeah.
that you can use patterns that have that option?
Yep, yep, mine again, it came from eBay. It's an old classroom projector,
Oh, wow.
so it doesn't look great. It's
Yeah.
missing, like, a filter cover on the side, but I paid, I think, less than $100 for it.
Oh, what a
So I thought,
great
"Well,
tip.
that's worth it to we'll try it out, and
Yeah,
we'll see what we can figure out."
and the other that's such a great tip, Whitney, because
Mhm,
as smart TVs and big monitors have
mhm.
kind of, come into replacing pull down projector screens,
Yeah,
projectors and that type of thing that would be a great way to buy one, used like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, my friend Forrest is here tonight. Hey, Forrest, always good to have you here.
Hello.
And he actually works in a brother dealership. I am a brother
Very cool.
ambassador, so those are the machines that I work with. But
Yes.
he also sells Ditto there, and they allow you to fit patterns to your measurements. Yeah, that's what my friend did. And my friend Kathy, who may be watching tonight, if you are,
Uh-huh.
hey Kathy, talk soon. Um, she would be definitely in the category of not standard big four pattern company size,
Yeah,
um, you
yeah,
know, size and stature, because that's a lot of it too. That, how many of us are 5'7" and have what that 7 head lengths of, where the legs
right,
are longer than everything else, and
right.
not many,
Not me.
not many. Um, But then he
Not
has a
me.
follow-up. He says you just can't use the alteration, feature. So,
Oh, on
I
the other
think,
ones, yeah.
yeah, you're not able to, slash and spread and do all that kind of thing. But,
Yeah,
it's really interesting. So
it
let's
is.
let's get back to the whole idea of, printable patterns,
Uh-huh.
or even commercial patterns. If
Mhm.
if if I were to ask you, Whitney, um, how you could help people that are either new to sewing
Uh-huh.
garments, or have sewn them in the past and now they're in a whole different area of their life, maybe a whole different size range, and they want to start again,
Mhm.
or they're just just a little bit like shy, whether it's because of fitting issues or just the whole idea of sewing. So are there certain, just along the line of indie pattern companies, are there
Mhm.
certain ones that you feel are more like easy fitting, I know you work a lot with Love Notions patterns.
I do. I think they're a good beginner pattern just with their level of instructions and with, they've got a lot of beginner friendly patterns that just aren't a lot of steps that are a little
Yeah.
bit easier to construct. Um,
And
yeah,
simple styles too. Would you say that the
yes,
styles, and so when you have a simple style, it's not the fit isn't as critical
right.
because you've got the ability to just kind of do your best at picking the measurements that are closest to yours. And in all likelihood, you're going to be pretty close. And
Yes.
then, make a
Yeah.
mock-up garment just to be absolutely sure.
Right, right. And they do the full bust fronts option as well. With if any of us have more than a 3 inch difference between our upper bust and full bust, you really need that full bust adjustment. It makes such a huge deal when you can pick a smaller size for your neck and shoulders and then have that accommodate the larger bust size. Um, that makes a huge difference.
Exactly. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
a
that's
big
huge. That's
Yes, I'm a
huge.
big fan of any of the pattern companies that offer cup sizes because I am busty.
Yep.
That is something that I struggle with, and so I just find I get a great fit on any of the pattern companies that offer that cup sizing, which is just my own personal fitting issue. But yeah, I think Love Notions, Tilly and the Buttons for a UK designer, they're really great with beginner patterns, and they've got really great instructions and a little bit more simple styles again that are just a little bit easier to complete. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
that's good to know. I would have,
yeah,
my thing would have been, my pick would have been Love Notions as
uh huh,
well, because
yeah,
they just really, they're nice, really basic styles,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
they're easy fitting. One
yeah,
tip that I learned a long time ago from, my friend Sandra Betsina, who's
uh-huh,
been on the show. She always makes sure that her side seams, every side seam, or connecting seam that goes with the side seam, like the underarm seam,
uh-huh.
is always, an inch. Starts out at, so she adds to the
Oh,
five
okay, she
eighths or
wants,
half or
yeah,
whatever she
mm-hmm,
needs to get an inch, and
mm-hmm,
she calls that fit insurance. So I've been
yeah,
doing that for years, because you sew it at the 1 inch and you can let it out far more easily. Now you don't want to do that for sleeve caps and shoulders and things like that, but
right,
just for the width
for your
basically that
width,
you would need for
mm-hmm.
your body. um with 5/8 or a half, that's a little on the skimpy side if you
It
need to let something
is,
out, but
it
an inch
is,
gives you definitely,
it is.
definitely a little bit more. Oh, we got some interesting, comments of patterns that people still have in their stash.
Yes.
Linda has a Betty Grable pattern, 10 cents.
That's amazing.
Oh my. And then, Deborah says she also has, she still has Gunny Sack's dress that she made. Aha. And Cindy says Gunny Sacks and, Laura
Laura
Ashley. Yep,
Ashley,
I have some
yes.
Laura Ashley that I will not part with for
Yes.
anything, anything. Somebody back somewhere, I don't know if I could find it, had, um, stretch and sew patterns.
Oh,
And
I have some.
oh, don't ever
Yes.
get rid of those. They are
Yes.
as classic can get.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yep. You will never, ever, ever, be able to replace those because
Yeah.
they're classics.
It's
Totally.
just a cool story. The whole business model and everything is just really
Yeah,
cool with stretch and sew.
definitely.
Yeah.
definitely. Many of us have memories of, shopping at stretch and sew stores. You probably
Yeah.
you might be a little young for that, but I'm old enough to remember shopping at stretch and sew. It was,
Yes.
really,
Yes.
really, really
I
something.
I love hearing those stories.
Yeah. So, okay, so we talked about patterns pretty
Uh-huh.
much, let's just go back to the whole projector thing
Mhm.
for a minute.
Mhm.
How like what is making you kind of go in that direction? Um,
I really think I really think I'm gonna sew quicker. I've been talking with Veronica Cole, she is a projector, knows everything, does all of the projector sewing. I
you
took
have to
her.
put me in touch with her.
Yeah, she's Needle in the Bell on Instagram. Yes, she does all the projector sewing. And just chatting with her about it, just she can batch cut so much quicker. I'm a big fan of batch cutting my sewing. So she can get that done much quicker. I just, like I said, I'm missing that one little piece on how to do the alterations on the computer. I just haven't learned that yet. But she tells
Okay.
me, she's like, you'll get it. It's fine. You can do the flat pattern adjustments. You're gonna learn it quickly, is what she says. So
Okay. Well, we
so I'm still waiting. Yeah, I've got to figure that out. I need some time so I can sit and figure out how to do that.
we did have a few people that were like, not anxious to do PDF patterns because they didn't want to have to print them,
Right,
or
and
they
tape
thought it
them.
was complicated, or they thought it was
Mhm.
confusing. And I understand that totally, totally,
Mhm.
totally.
Mhm.
Um, Personally, I think that once you've done one or two, start with something simple like a t-shirt,
Yeah.
start with something that has very few actual pieces. So you're not having to, do, a sleeve and a collar and a band and
Yeah.
a this and a
Yeah.
that, pick something simple. But I really believe that once you've done one or two of them,
Mhm.
it's, it becomes totally second nature. It's just
Ye
really weird at the outset
yeah.
because you're just haven't done it before.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
I completely agree. Yeah, once you get in a I mean, to be honest, so my kids are 17, and I had a kid home sick from school, and he was starting to feel a little bit better. And I had a huge stack of patterns that needed to be taped together. And I showed him, I was like, this is how you just line up these things. And I just need you to tape. Use lots of tape because I need it all. I don't want anything coming apart when I cut it. And he didn't go through it as quickly as I do, but I'm like, there we go. Some child labor in there. But yeah, once you get into a routine and get into like a flow, you can put on, a podcast or watch a movie or something, and it goes pretty quickly. I also really like PDF patterns because most of them have a layers feature with Adobe
Yes.
Acrobat where you can just print off your size or sizes that you need. And I find that's easier to cut things out.
I am
You're not,
so glad you brought that up
yeah.
because one of the first ones that I ever did,
Hmm.
I did not know about the layers. I didn't know what it
Yeah.
meant, and so I printed the whole thing. In fact, actually, that particular one I took to my local office supply place and had them print it. And when I got it back, I was like, "Oh no!" I'm used to doing multi-size patterns, but I'm used to doing it on tissue where I could see
Yeah.
defined lines.
Yeah.
And it's really, if you've done a PDF pattern, anybody that's here, and
Yeah.
you've printed it off with the multi sizes and then taped it together and then said, what in the world did I get into this for?
Yeah.
You need to learn what the layers are,
Yeah,
because that means that you can pick one, two, or three sizes
instead of
that
all of
you
them.
think are going to be in your range and skip all the rest.
Yeah.
I know my friend Diane from Style Falcon. I don't see her here tonight, but she's usually here. Maybe she'll watch the replay. She has a video on it, so maybe
Yeah.
we can put our heads together and find some resources for that. But
Oh,
once you've
yeah.
seen how to do it,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference in the world.
It does.
All the difference in the
It
world.
does.
Yeah,
Makes it much less
definitely.
confusing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think that's important because anything that's going to like get in your head, first of all, that this is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be, this is going to be ugly.
Right, and it's our hobby. Our hobby should be
Exactly.
fun and not frustrating and not overwhelming, and yes.
Definitely. Yep.
Yes.
Patty says layers make it so
Yeah.
much easier. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I got to bring this one up. Uh, Avi, I'm going to say Avi, remember shopping and still has stretch and sew. I have, I have, not to brag, I'm not bragging, but I have one of the most iconic swimsuit patterns ever created that is a stretch and sew pattern. If you've ever seen the movie The Philadelphia Story with Grace Kelly, she
Okay.
has on a white swimsuit in one of the scenes, and this is an identical copy to that. It's one of the most flattering, the most beautiful bathing suits you will ever see. I'm gonna have to make it this year and then share it with everybody.
Yes,
It
do.
would be nice if somebody would recreate that one because, like I said, it looks beautiful on everybody.
Yeah.
And it really
Yeah,
it's a
you've piqued
very
my
classic
interest.
style. Yeah. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And Shirley says she's seen the layers, but she hasn't printed them. So
Mhm.
okay, so Jody asked who's the best to learn from to learn the projector. So can you think of anybody off the top of your head? Like you just
Honestly,
said the
so
one.
I was just at Sew Expo back in February, and I took Aronica Cole's in-person class, her Projector Sewing 101. But I know she's got a digital class of that. She offers it every now and again, and she's getting ready to offer the 201, which is going to teach you how to alter your patterns digitally, and then you can just save the file, which I think is genius. So once you've made your digital pattern adjustments, you save the file, and now this t-shirt pattern is your t-shirt pattern that fits
Ooh,
you. Or
that is very
whatever.
intriguing. I will
Yes.
definitely have to see if I can get her on the show
Yeah.
and do more on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
He is the
that's
projector queen.
good to know.
Yeah.
So we talked about patterns. How about fabrics? Any fabricaholics in the audience here?
So much fun.
I know we're going to touch on a couple other things aside from fabric. One is going to be fitting. We're definitely going to talk about that,
Huh?
and I definitely want to talk about colors too
Yeah.
because when we started the show, I said, do you want to sew clothes that make you feel wonderful? So
Mhm.
first step is probably finding a pattern that is
Mhm.
going to, when it's done, is going to give you that I feel wonderful
Yep.
feeling.
Yep.
Next thing is fabric. So,
Mhm.
Whitney, what are some of your favorite fabrics for you personally, and what again would be some that you would recommend for anybody that's just a little bit shy or a little bit hesitant of
Yeah.
jumping into the garment sewing world?
Yeah. I love natural fibers. And I do consider rayon and viscose, even though they've gone through a man-made process, they're still a natural base of fibers. But I think my favorites to work with are probably, I love working with linen, and I think that would be a great one for new garment sewists to work with because it's very stable. It behaves itself wonderfully. Cotton, I love working with cotton, whether that be cotton poplins, cotton lawn. I'm a big fan of cotton lawn. Those also behave beautifully and aren't sliding around or being slippery. Um, I really love wearing rayon challis. It's a little trickier to sew with. It likes to grow on you. And then when it comes to knits, cotton spandex jersey is my favorite for most t-shirts and that sort of thing. Such as I'm wearing. And Ponte, if you're also newer to knits, Ponte knit is fantastic to work with because it doesn't curl, it's stable, it behaves itself. I prefer a rayon nylon spandex blend for my Ponte. I don't like a lot of polyester unless it's in my activewear, and it's technical fabric that's actually wicking and pulling stuff away, but in personal preference. But yeah, those are my favorite. Natural fibers are my favorite. I love working with silk. I love working with silk as well, especially silk crepe de chine. that obviously is going to be for someone that's getting into garment sewing, maybe a little bit more scary. But I love wearing silk crepe de chine, and I love working with it. Charmeuse as well. But yeah, I'm a natural fiber girl.
Myself. I didn't want anybody to hear me clicking. Yeah, I'm kind of lean definitely more towards natural fibers,
Hmm.
but I do buy a mixture, and when I'm gonna do a trial garment,
Hmm.
I always opt for at least a blend
Hmm.
because it's going to be less expensive.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
um, just I kind of throw a little question out at you. If you were going to want to make something out of silk charmeuse, for example,
Yes.
and you were going to test it, what would be maybe some less expensive fabrics that you think would be similar enough to do a test in?
A rayon challis.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna
the
say.
drape would be, I feel like, similar enough. Yeah, that would be
Well,
my recommendation.
a lot of times you'll find those kind of items in the bargain aisle.
Yeah.
In fact, I have another strange theory. Just one of I have many theories of my own, and one is that if you're gonna make a trial garment out of something you're just really not sure of how this is going to be,
Mhm.
um, buy fabric that's a little bit like not your taste, believe it or not, that's cheap,
Yeah.
because that way if it's not great when it's done, you're not you haven't invested a whole lot into it, and you're not
Yeah.
in love with it, so you don't feel as bad. But if
Right.
it ends up fitting, I mean, if it ends up fitting,
Uh-huh.
then great. Then you can go buy the good fabric, or
Uh-huh.
you've altered the fit, go buy the good fabric. And again, you're not going to feel bad about literally throwing that one in the recycle bin
Right.
because you didn't fall in love with it. So that
Right.
may be a little
Yep.
strange way to look at things, but again, it's all about the emotions.
It is.
Definitely. Yeah,
It
and I would add just another fabric to that. If you do much in the way of bottom weight, or
is.
bottom type things like
Mhm.
skirts or pants,
Yeah.
denim with a good amount of stretch in it
Mhm.
is a great fabric for any level of skill to
Mhm.
choose, because the stretch gives it a little bit more forgiveness fit wise,
Yes.
but the
Yes.
denim is just so easy to sew
It
and
is.
plentiful,
It
very,
is.
very plentiful.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So that's just
Yep.
another pick. One of my all-time favorite fabrics is silk dupioni, which is
Ooh.
just just because it's so incredibly
Yes.
beautiful when
Yes.
it's done. But it's definitely
Yes.
not a beginner fabric because it ravels just by you blinking at it.
It does. That it does.
It turns into a shredded mess just
That
from
it does.
looking at it. It also embroiders very well, though. So um, let's touch on that just a little bit, because I know I asked you quite some time ago if you were interested in my wrapped in embroidery book that
Yeah.
had embroidery designs in it,
Yeah.
and sent one of those off to you when you
Yeah.
told me that, yeah, you were interested in embroidery. So is
Yeah.
that just something that you just haven't played with just time wise because you haven't had a lot of time,
Yes.
or you know just
Yes.
because you've invested in other things?
That is absolutely what it is. I have a loaner Bernina right now with
Okay.
a embroidery module, and then I have invested quite a bit of money in her facings and thread, and I
Okay.
just haven't had time to sit down and I mean, I've taken a little class there at the dealer who loaned me the
Mhm.
machine to kind of figure it out a little bit. However, their embroidery teacher is actually making a house call to me in May to
Oh,
come and
great.
help me become more comfortable. That's what it is. It's about becoming more comfortable with the machine, with the embroidery module, and all the different interfacings and threads and stuff. So
That is wonderful. I mean,
yes.
my favorite thing of all time to do is actually to sew a garment from scratch
Mhm.
and embroider on it, either while it's still flat fabric or after it's been just cut into a block and then
Yeah.
actually sew. But yeah,
Yeah.
sewing, because the process itself is a little bit time consuming, adding the embroidery kind of adds to that. But boy, it just can make things
Eh,
so, so,
yes.
so unique.
Yes,
Just
it personalizes things. It's your own little
definitely.
design twist. Yeah. I'm here
I
for
got to
that.
bring up a few comments here. Made It So says she finds cool fabric at estate sales. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. And then there's the other whole idea of buying garments that are, typically probably oversized, so you have more to work with.
Yeah.
I know you've done that, and
Uh-huh.
then make it into something.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
and then Mary says, you give out names of fabric companies you deal with. So why don't we go ahead and drop some names here so that people can look that up for themselves? What are some of your favorite places to purchase fabric from?
Okay. Well, okay, so here in the US, there is the Sewing Studio, which is in Oregon. She's got a lot of really cool dead stock things that are fun to watch and see what comes up. So it kind of changes all the time. Style Maker Fabrics is a good one for just your things that I'm like specific things that I'm looking for. Let's see. Yes, Mood Fabric. I've got Jenny here making sure I don't forget anybody. Mood Fabric in New York. Their New York store, like their in-person stores are a lot different than what they carry online, but their online stuff, it's a great place to find something specific that you're looking for, maybe some lines that you're really wanting to use over and over again. In the UK, I use Minerva a lot. They're also great for finding exactly what you want. They have fantastic international shipping, and it's pretty quick. I use yeah, the new Craft House also in the UK is a fun one for dead stock fabric that's just changes and really cool stuff. Down in Australia, I love the Fabric Store. Their linen is beautiful. Their merino jersey is wool jersey is just really really wonderful. And the Cloth Edit down in Australia, she's got some gorgeous fabrics down there that I have snagged from her on quite a few occasions. Who am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anybody? Um, oh yeah, yeah. Blackbird Fabrics up in Canada. Fab Cycle up in Canada. She does a lot of dead stock that's really, really cool. Core Fabrics. I just got an order from Core Fabrics, which is the sister company to Closet Core Patterns. That's a really good one. Am I forgetting? Emma One Sock here in the US. She's got a really beautiful selection of fabrics. I find buying fabric online can be scary because we're not touching it, and that can be a really hard thing. But if you find some companies that you are impressed by their quality, usually that means you're pretty safe no matter what. So I have just really lucked into some really great fabric companies that I just always get quality fabric from. And so buying fabric online isn't as scary.
Muted myself again. Do some of them offer swatch services? Swatch services?
Some of them do, some of them do, but a lot of the companies that do the dead stock fabric, their stuff goes so quickly, there's not
Yeah, yeah,
time
yeah, yeah,
for a
yeah.
swatch. By the time you get a swatch, the fabric has sold out. So so sometimes you gotta go quick.
Yeah, Joanne T. You're already thinking along the line. I will go through and give me a couple days, but I'll add
I
to the
named a
show
lot.
links because I've done that before, where I'll go through then and actually find exactly the websites and then
Yeah.
post it in with the chat. So, and you
Yeah.
can always go back and just rewind to this section and write it down and do your own research. But I will definitely do that. So that you can have that in there.
That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Linda wanted to know if you have any specific sources for Christian fabric. So that
Waymaker Fabrics does a lot of print designs on demand, and they do quite a few Christian designs.
that's
Yep.
good to know. Just like
Hmm.
some of the embroidery design companies do a lot with scripture verses. So
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
good to
Waymaker
know. Good
Waymaker
to know.
Fabrics does quite a bit with that. Yeah.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna just check the some of the questions that have come in, so I don't miss them. We got so many people here tonight and so many great comments and
Great.
questions. Thank you all for chiming in. While you're here, I am going to just real quick say that you can definitely visit my website as well as Whitney's for sewing and embroidery ideas and inspiration and education. And I am definitely, like I said, on a roll with this whole blogging about streamlining your sewing space. And
Yes.
if you do like this type of sewing chat and sewing education, please hit the like. That helps a lot. It not only helps me and Whitney, it also helps anybody else who might be interested in the same type of
Mhm,
information,
mhm.
because then YouTube will say, hey, a
Yeah.
bunch of sewing people like this. Maybe you'll like this too. So you're
Yeah.
helping out sewing friends that you may not even know already. And then, like I said, please, if you want to get in touch with Whitney directly, you will find her at tomcatstitchery.com. And I'm actually going to paste that in the chat so that you have the direct link for that. And then I will also be putting, Whitney, I'll put your YouTube channel and
Mhm.
your Instagram as
Yeah.
well in the show notes so that people can find that really,
Great.
really easily. So, a couple questions here. Sandra wants to know, what does crepe de chine and challis look like?
Okay. So crepe de chine and challis are both the weave of the fabric. So they can be different fibers, but that is the weave. So a crepe de chine is a crepe weave, which means it kind of is a little bit bumpy on one side. It's got just a little bit of texture. It's not a lot, but you'll have a little bit of texture. And the crepe de chine, when it comes to silk, it's pretty soft, but there is just a little texture as opposed to a charmeuse, which would be shiny on one side and then matte on the other side. It has just a little bit of bumpiness to it. A challis is also a weave, and it is almost has a brushed feel to it, but it is smooth on both right and wrong sides. Again, you can challis most frequently comes as a rayon or a viscose fiber, but you can also find wool challis as well. And it usually has a really nice drape with the way that it's woven as well. Oh,
Newsletter and
she muted.
muted. I'm muted again. Sorry, I did that way too many times tonight. I was just gonna say, it's all. Sometimes we might want to ask, what does that fabric feel like?
Mhm,
And both of those are very soft and very flowing. I know
mhm,
one of the fabric resources that I would recommend is
mhm,
Fabric Mart. They
mhm.
actually have a store in, I think it's Sinking Springs, Pennsylvania, I think is the actual
I think you're
name of the
right.
town. But they do a
Yeah.
lot online. They have great prices. They have all kinds of different fabrics. And one
Mhm.
of the ways they display the images of their fabric is by draping it over a small table, and you can kind of see how it flows. And
Yeah.
then they'll actually have in the description what it would be recommended for, what the hand of the fabric would be like. So
Very
that's
helpful.
probably, again, one of the
Mhm,
most important things. So
mhm.
back to the whole idea of we're zigzagging a little bit, which stitchers are known to do. Um, Back to the whole idea of picking the right fabrics. That is one area where, if you're looking at an indie pattern, if they're not as specific in the
Mhm.
description, because again, they may be assuming that you're already a little bit more well versed with that,
Uh-huh.
I would suggest looking at a similar style in the big four, because you're probably going to find a similar, like say it's a shirt dress. Okay, find
Yeah.
another and see what they recommend,
Mhm,
because that's one area where I think the big four are very good
mhm.
at telling you what fabrics are appropriate for that pattern.
Yes.
What happens is a lot of us go, oh, I don't need to listen to that. I like the color of this. It should be fine. But no, they are pretty much on target, going to tell
Yeah.
you which ones are going to be the right ones to actually select.
Oh, right, yes.
And then Jackie tells everybody Love Notions has a video
Mhm.
on printing.
They
So
do.
I'm assuming she means printing the PDFs, which is
Uh-huh.
very helpful. So definitely
Mhm.
look that up.
You do.
And let's see, Barbara says she has her own projector mounted above her cutting table and uses PDF patterns. And it was not as I'm sure she probably wanted to say as expensive as she thought it was going to be. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, and a
Yeah.
one-time investment is going to give you a lot of opportunity to
Yeah.
do more. And Karina says, made by
Mhm.
Rooney. I'm going to say
Mhm.
Rooney, an
Uh-huh.
indie company that has beginner-friendly patterns for everyday clothing. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have not. I love finding new, independent pattern companies,
Cool.
though. That's exciting. I'll go have
Yeah.
a look.
Very, very good. All
Yeah.
right. I think we're probably caught up pretty much on those. I don't want to miss any of the good questions. Avi
Mhm.
said had a good tip though. Thrift stores are great places to find economical quality fabric to
Mhm.
repurpose. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
absolutely. Especially
Mhm.
when you're doing those test garments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then Betty Joe had a little
Ooh,
comment on
yes.
Dupioni quilts really well. Yeah, a special like quilted embroidery with silk Dupioni is it's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see.
I
You could use
bet.
a little bit
Yes.
of thin batting or even flannel
Uh-huh.
as the middle sandwich layer,
Yeah.
and you could just use cotton batiste on the back or muslin or whatever, especially if it's going to be lined, and it's just
Gorgeous. I
absolutely
bet.
beautiful. So I have to say another thing that I think you are famous for, many
Mhm.
things, Whitney, many, but something that you are very, that I think is one of the major ways that you find for yourself and you recommend for others
Mhm.
to feel wonderful in their clothes is one word. You know what I'm thinking of?
Is it
Color.
yeah, I was gonna say, it's either color or
Color.
fitting. Yeah.
Yeah, color.
Yep.
So you had sent this over to me, and I think it would be really fun to talk for a few minutes about why color is so important,
Mhm.
how it has changed your sewing life,
Mhm.
and how you believe it can change other sewing lives as well.
Yeah. Well, I had, my colors done, in January of 2020. I was just curious as to what with my natural coloring and eye color, hair, all that, what colors looked best on me. That was very interesting to me. Um, and it's up some people don't agree with that, and that's absolutely fine if you don't want to be stuck to a certain palette of colors. But I do think no matter what you decide, having a color palette, whether it's colors you've just picked at random because you love them or colors that you've curated or whatever it might be, but sewing from a specific color palette, number one, it makes your closet so cohesive. Everything just goes together beautifully, and it's easy to mix and match things. But it also makes shopping for fabric so much easier because you're only looking at these certain colors, and then you can, kind of not look at colors that are over here. So it makes that so much more efficient and quick. I love having my colors done and getting. I just find, especially looking at myself on camera all the time, that I'm just brighter. My eyes are brighter. My hair is brighter. My skin looks brighter when I'm wearing my best colors. And being a sewist, I don't have to just rely on what's in stores at any given time. I can, if I would like a lime green shirt, I can just make one. So, yes, I am a big proponent of having a color palette that you're working from just for ease, and also just to help make everything that you make sense. And then you can wear the things together. Um, and yeah, I'm a big proponent with good colors. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I got jumped onto the color bandwagon
Yeah.
way back when the what to me was the first book available was called Color Me Beautiful,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
way back, and I was wearing a lot of the wrong color. Like I said, I loved muslin color. I loved the color
Yeah.
of muslin. I just
Uh-huh.
always loved it, and I look horrible in it. Horrible in it. And brown went really good with muslin, so I bought a lot of brown too.
Yeah.
I look even more horrible in brown than I do in
Yeah.
muslin. So when I first got my, colors done, I actually did at a later date get them professionally done by someone else who wrote another book. I don't think it's still in print, but
Yeah.
and never deviated from that. And it
Yeah.
just became like almost like an instinct then that
Yeah.
you knew what was good for you, and you feel you look better and you
Mhm.
feel better because you
Yes.
don't have people saying to you, "Are you okay? Are you sick?
Yes.
Are you sick? Are you coming down with something?"
Yes.
Just because you have the wrong colors, and
Yes.
it helps you minimize mistake purchases
Yes.
because you're not getting into something that's just plain
Yep.
isn't you.
Yep. I totally
Um,
agree.
Jenny
Yep.
says she stinks at choosing colors. Well, I think you have a connection with somebody that actually does color professionally,
I
don't you?
do. I do. I do
Um,
have a 10% off code with the Color Guru. She does virtual online color analysis. Tomcat Color gets you 10% off any of her packages, which is kind of nice.
okay.
My sister has done it. My mom's done it. My daughter's done it. Jenny's done it. We all of my sister's friends. I was just at her 40th birthday party, and everyone we were talking about it at this table of 15 people. I didn't even know half of them, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I used the code. I had my colors done. I'm a, calm
Wow.
autumn or I'm
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jenny will put that into the show notes as well. Angie says she knows she's a early spring. Karen
Mhm.
says, "Yep, Karen, you are definitely Karen and I have met face to face, and you are definitely winter. I'm a
Winter.
winter.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
you definitely are.
Joanne is a winter. Winter is almost, I think, the easiest ones to define
I
because
agree.
can you wear black and can you wear pure white? You
Yes.
can wear both of those and really have them be your best colors
Yeah.
almost. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, they're kind of my favorite go-to. I
Yeah.
like other colors, but they're my go-to colors is black and
Mhm.
white.
Yep.
There's no other question. You don't need to go anywhere else, do any more
Exactly.
research. If those two are good for you, you are a winter. But
Yep. Yep.
yeah, it's definitely makes a big difference. Shirley says she's a summer, but that was before white hair. Oh, good question. Does that change when your hair changes
I
color?
I have heard no. I have heard no on that. In fact, I think probably white hair probably makes you even more a summer because that would soften things, and that's a cool color palette, and it's a muted color palette.
Okay,
My mom
okay.
also has white hair, and she is absolutely a summer. She's the same color palette as my daughter, who is just a very ashy blonde, very cool. Yeah, low contrast, but muted. You can just see just
Mhm.
looking at her that she's very muted in colors. Yeah,
It is a fascinating
it
subject.
is.
Jackie says she agrees, makes a world of
Yeah,
difference.
it does.
Barbara's a winner, wears lots of purple. Yep, definitely. And let's see. Oh, Angie, that's a good place to look as well. Do some research and
Yeah,
explore a little bit. Anne
yeah,
says um, uh, her mom always looked good in red. Yep, you can, you just know when
yes,
somebody is wearing the right color.
yep,
Oh yeah. Well, how many people have stories of growing up wearing, like, because their mother loved yellow, they
yes.
stuck you in yellow all the time or any other, color of choice, and you knew you didn't like it, but you didn't know why.
Oh, I was
Until you
dressed in
grew up.
pastels my entire life, and, every color analysis person that I've now come across are like, "No, you're a warm color palette. You're absolutely a warm color palette." I'm also someone just said they're a copper spring. I'm also a copper spring. It's the
Yeah,
warmest of
Jackie.
the
Yep.
springs. Yep, yep, I'm a
And
copper
then
spring
Jenny,
too,
thank you,
Jackie.
Jenny. She's behind the scenes there. Use Color Guru. So look up
Yep,
Color Guru
mhm,
and then use the Tomcat color to get 10% off. That is
yep,
great.
yep.
Oh, that's a good philosophical question here. What happens if you don't like the color you look the best in? I think Barbara's saying.
Yeah.
I would say
The color guru
experiment.
has said that because they will talk with you because, there's some people that might kind of skirt the line between a couple, that they ask that you just try them for a little bit. And sometimes just seeing yourself in it changes your mind. So one of my very best colors is I call it macaroni and cheese color, because if you think of Kraft macaroni and cheese, that's the color.
Okay.
Mango or tangerine is probably
Yeah.
a more
Yeah.
attractive color name, but that is never a color I was drawn to. But it makes my eyes look so blue and my face so bright, and it's become one of my favorite colors. And that was not a color I would have ever said was one of my favorite colors.
That is amazing. I would say, yeah, give it a chance too.
Yeah.
Just give it a
Yeah.
chance. And
Mhm.
one of the things that, just as a little tip, is make a scarf out of that color. Don't make
Yeah.
a garment. Just make a scarf or buy a
Yeah.
scarf, whatever you find, if you can find the fabric, and
Mhm.
wear it around your face for a
Yep.
while. You may decide, that you either really don't like it or you really do like it. And
Right.
you've only invested in something so simple like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
And Angie says, "What if your mom dressed you and your sisters alike?" Yeah, that
Yes.
you could
Yes.
have, you could be totally, totally wrong. Totally
Absolutely.
wrong.
And my sister's a summer.
And Elaine, oh, you just got stopped. Well, it's everybody just, you have to do whatever makes you happy when it comes to choosing things that you're going to put your time and money and energy in. But I think all of
Absolutely.
these ideas really
Yes.
are just to get you thinking somewhere where you haven't thought before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just all about making your sewing life better. So
Yeah. Yeah.
on that exact subject, I always like to ask all my guests two things.
Yep.
Number one, to make your sewing life better, do you have some specific, like, must have go to tools that you would recommend?
Yes, and I even have them here next to me. I love the So Keezy tapes.
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
you people I'm sure that this is not new to anybody. I mean, they're just interfacing, but they're pre-cut. So I use the woven stay tape, the knit stay tape, and a couple of different widths, and they're double-sided fusible hem tape. Love these things. I find
Yeah.
that it makes my sewing life so much easier. That was one that immediately jumped out to me as a sewing notion that I always make sure I have. If I'm getting low on any of these, I immediately order more.
Yep, and Mary, I
Yeah.
would agree. Yeah, good tapes.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the convenience. I would say I
Yeah.
do cut a lot of my own from my
Mhm.
favorite interfacings that I
Yeah.
use,
Yeah.
but it's time consuming and tedious.
Yeah.
And when you're sewing a lot of garments and you want to get them done, it's great to have that.
It is.
It's like convenience food almost,
It
you just
is.
want
It
to have
is.
that
It's the fast food of
stuff
sewing
out.
notions.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I know we talked a little bit about how I said I was doing a series of blogs on streamlining your sewing space,
Yeah.
and I know you recently did a major overhaul. But if we get right to the nitty gritty,
Mhm.
what again, in order to make your sewing space a happy place, what would be some of your recommendations for that?
I'm a big proponent of batch cutting. I love batch cutting, mostly because I can get into a zone. I can listen to a podcast, watch a movie, and cut out, I don't know, 3 or 4 projects at once, not just cut them out, interface them, get the notions ready for them, and have them ready to go. So that when I do get those pockets of time, and realize I have probably bigger pockets of time than most people, because I do this for a living, but finding those pockets of time where I can sit down and start sewing, I'm so much more efficient. And I'm always surprised, like, oh my gosh, look, I got that pair of pants sewn. And, maybe it took me 3 days, but it was 3 days that I didn't think I would have any time to sew. And that is probably my number one. I also, and again, I realize I'm spoiled, but I have a actual sewing room, but I have my machines all set up in a U. So I can easily pivot to get from my serger to my sewing machine. And I have a couple sewing machines. So using those, my cover stitch, it's all within a U, so I can easily pivot. And I just got the new, is it the M3? Is that what it's called? The M3 Oliso iron, which is the little mini Oliso iron that I have now set next to my sewing machine. It is the cutest thing.
It's like a little buddy.
It
It
is so
is
cute.
adorable. I
Yes.
know. I don't have one yet, but I know a lot of people
Yes.
that do.
With the wool mat, to have that just right by, just for the little bitty pressings. Now, long lengths of seams, I still walk over to, and I should be getting up
Yeah.
and walking,
Yeah.
but walking over.
We do need to do that on occasion.
Yeah, to press the major seams and stuff open with the bigger iron. But oh my gosh, this looks so
Yeah.
cute. This is
Yeah.
new. This is new to the sewing room.
And they have a really good reputation. So
Yes.
they're yeah, definitely. That's on my wish list for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyway,
Those are really
yeah.
really good tips that any of us and all of us could try to implement to definitely
Yeah.
make your space a happy place.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, the one thing we haven't talked about is classes, and we've had a few people asking that. Made It So asked if you're planning to do any more in-person classes. So maybe she's in your area.
We don't have anything on the schedule right now. We are focusing more on digital classes right now, only because it can reach more people, obviously, and it's the logistics required with in-person classes is a lot. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that I won't do any ever. In fact, we're looking at maybe some sewing expos and stuff, teaching at some sewing expos and doing some in-person classes there. That's kind of something we've been playing around with and throwing some ideas around. So yes, there probably will be some more in-person classes. I just don't have anything on the books right now.
Very good. And my friend Cindy says she recently bought your shirt making 101.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she says everything makes sense. So again,
Oh, that's
you would find everything Whitney is doing, will do, has done, and anything in the future at her website.
Yeah.
Right there, tomcatstitchery.com. And we did have a couple questions. I won't bring them up, but we did have a couple questions from people that missed how Tomcat came about to be the name. So you wanted to tell us that again real quick?
It was my alterations and custom sewing business before it became the YouTube channel, and it's just my kids' names.
That's perfect. It's a perfect match.
Yep.
So classes, I know you have something really, really, really special coming up. Let's bring that up.
Yes. Yes.
Pattern fitting head to toe.
Yes, this is the master class that I offer twice a year. It is two components. Number one, it is a whole resource library of pattern alterations. It is 6 different modules where we fit a woven top, a knit top, a woven pant, and a knit pant. We take measurements, do all of that. They're all pre-recorded videos. You have access to that forever. But the class, I offer it, the cart just opened today. So it is open starting today. But we go through 6 weeks of basically me live. So we go through each module a week at a time. We have a community aspect that's kind of like Facebook, but it's within the class. So it's very private. So you don't have to worry about being in your underwear or being in, fitting and stuff and being out in public. It's just all very private within the class. But you post pictures. And so we help each other fit. I'm on there. I do a live each week, answering questions and that sort of thing. And yeah, we get a woven top, a knit top, a woven pant, and a knit pant to fit. Hopefully by the end of the 6 weeks, but you do have access to all of those modules for life. So
Excellent.
that just opened. The cart for that just opened up today, and the cart is opened until April 5th. Jenny's nodding at me. Yes.
Okay, terrific. So
and if they
is
sign up before Wednesday, we're giving away another one of our classes for free, and that is picking pattern companies for your body shape.
Wow.
So yes.
Wow.
If you buy
what a tremendous resource.
Yeah.
Well, I've read the reviews on your pattern fitting 101 because you have done this before.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they are very, 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 very good. So definitely take advantage of that. That is
we have a good time.
Yeah, really really a great offering by a great expert.
Oh, that's very
Um,
kind.
yeah. And Linda says, how much are the classes? So that is all on that
Yep.
page.
Yep.
Let me bring up that page again.
We have
Right
quite
there.
a few classes and there's quite a different price points. But yeah, all in our store, there's all of them are listed with their prices.
So head on over. Will that be, is that on your actual website, or do they need to go to that specific link for that?
No, you can
Um,
just if you just go to the website, you can pop up to the store
okay, so
from there to look
it'll
at
be
all that kind of stuff. And we have another class that's releasing in the middle of April, so stay tuned for that as well.
excellent. And Jackie says, great class to take. She learned so much.
Aw,
So there
thank you,
you go.
Jackie.
There you go. Barbara, we got to say hi to Barbara. She's late, but she made it. Hey, Barbara, you'll have to watch the replay to get the rest of this. April says she loves the iron. So if you got any last minute questions, get them in here because we are just about to wrap up. We've had a
Yeah.
full 90 minutes of absolutely wonderful, fun sewing
Yes.
chat. And I
It's been
know
a lot of fun.
when we first planned this, we said it would be hard for both of us to stop at night.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to shut me up anyway, just in
So
my normal life.
it's just been really, really great to have you here, though. You are a wealth of knowledge. I
That's
love your enthusiasm, and
oh,
I love how much you are so sincere in really wanting everybody to enjoy sewing as much as you do, and it really
yes.
shows.
Yes, well, that's so kind. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This was so much fun. I feel so honored that you contacted me and asked me to be on. Thank you.
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful. Carla, you would definitely benefit from that class. Jenny says, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. Yes.
Yep.
You'll find all that again right at
Yeah.
tomcatstitchery.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we've left everybody with some great information, and I know that you've inspired me, and I'm sure that you've inspired everyone else here as well.
Well,
So,
that's so kind. Thank you, Joanne.
well, thank you, Whitney. It's been great to have you, and
Thank
I'll
you.
look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. So, thank you to everyone who's been here tonight. Until I see you again, I wish you all a world full of pretty stitches. Bye bye and happy sewing.